Godzilla Pacific Rim, Rise of the Rift Kings Chapter I. The second breach. It began not with thunder or flame, but with a vibration, a deep, low groan from the Pacific shelf that no instrument could record and no seismologist could name. In the blackest trench of the ocean, the breach pulsed. Not like before. This wasn't a crack torn by alien malice alone. This one breathed, the Mariana Trench convulsed. A bloom of blue light unfurled beneath the sea like the petals of some ancient, glowing flower. But it was no flower. It was a warning. Above the waves, on the deck of the newly completed Shatterdome Tokyo, Director Kaia Renner stared at the feed streaming from a deep-sea drone. It flickered, buzzed static, and then returned one last image before cutting to black, concentric circles rippling outward from an impossible vortex. She knew what it meant. This is no echo, she whispered, knuckles white on the rail. Something's knocking again. And it remembers us. Across the globe, seismic monitors stuttered. Old signals echoed from old war zones, Antarctica, San Francisco, Sydney. But this wasn't the past returning. It was the future cracking open, and something had heard the call. Chapter 2, waking the king. Beneath Okinawa's coastal cliffs, ancient stones shook. Fishermen fled. The sea frothed and boiled. Then, with the deep-throated cry of a god waking from troubled dreams, Godzilla rose. His spines glowed with faint cerulean light, casting eerie reflections on the waves. No rage. No haste. Just grim, deliberate movement. His golden eyes scanned the horizon, not for prey, but for something older. Something familiar. Across the world, sirens screamed. Jets scrambled. Cities braced for the worst. In Geneva, the United Nations Defense Council held an emergency session. Half believed Godzilla's return was a herald of war. The others knew better. Renner stood before the council, images rotating behind her, infrared scans of the breach, pulsing rift energy, and Godzilla's precise movements toward the epicenter. He's not attacking, she said firmly. He's answering. And we'd be fools to ignore that. After hours of debate and mounting political tension, a resolution passed. Monarch and the Pan-Pacific Defense Corps would form a joint task force. The Jaegers would not hunt Godzilla, they would fight beside him. Chapter 3, the Hive King rises. The first kaiju appeared under moonlight. 7 emerged, taller, leaner, faster. They moved as one. Eyes glowing with eerie synchronicity. They didn't roar. They signaled. At Monarch's deep-sea observatory, Dr. Newton Geisler returned to the screens he once swore he'd never face again. His hands trembled. They've changed, he whispered. This isn't just DNA splicing. This is evolution with intent. They're learning. They're talking to each other. Renner entered the lab. You mean they've formed a hive? She asked. No, Newt replied, staring at a looping image of the new kaiju moving in eerie unison. They've formed a kingdom. And the king is still inside the breach. Chapter 4, Driftfall. Juno and Cass Reyes stood on the lift platform beneath their Jaeger Titan Stride. A prototype, sleek, plated in obsidian alloy, powered by dual-core arc reactors. But its true weapon lay in the Reyes twins themselves. They had once been inseparable. But war had a way of bending even the strongest bonds. Juno's scars ran deep, mental and physical. Cass, younger and reckless, wore his guilt behind a smile. As the drift initialized, memories flooded them. Their father's death. The day Gypsy Avenger fell. The moment they realized they might not make it out whole. We're not kids anymore, Juno said, her voice soft inside the neural interface. Cass nodded. No. We're survivors. That's different. As Titan Stride powered up, its eyes blazed cobalt blue. Outside, Godzilla waited in the bay, watching the metal titan that now mirrored his weight. The war had begun. Chapter V, Storm on the archipelago. The kaiju struck without warning, 8 this time. More evolved. More coordinated. They erupted from the sea like nightmares, converging on the Japanese archipelago. Information, Titan Stride launched from the Shatterdome, thunder in its wake. Beside it, Jaegers from across the globe deployed, Argus Valiant from Russia, Chimera Fist from the EU, and Windblade Echo piloted by veteran Marshal Tanaka. The battle over Tokyo Bay was apocalyptic. One Kaiju, spine-laced and serpentine, coiled around Chimera Fist and pierced its chest cavity before Argus Valiant blasted it apart with a railgun barrage. Volt storms cracked the sky. Then came the bellow, Godzilla, surging from the surf like vengeance made flesh. With a deafening roar, he charged into the fray, tail sweeping, atomic breath flaring. One Jaeger, Windblade Echo, was downed and powerless, until Godzilla turned, opened his jaws, and fired his atomic breath directly into the Jaeger's core, reigniting its fusion systems. Tanaka's voice crackled to life. "I don't believe it. We've got power." That night, for the first time in history, humanity watched a Jaeger rise beside a Titan, not as prey, not as predator, but as brothers in arms. Chapter 6. The breach opens in the depths of the Mariana Trench. The breach tore wider, its edges no longer pulsing blue, but blackened and bleeding shadow. From the rift, the Hive King emerged. 4 arms. 2 heads. Its body, obsidian and crimson, fused with metal harvested from fallen Jaegers. The Kaiju King roared, not in challenge, but command. All across the globe, dormant Kaiju erupted from hidden nests. A world siege had begun. Back at Shatterdome, Tokyo, Renner watched the chaos unfold. "We don't have enough Jaegers," she whispered. "We don't need more machines," replied Newt, stepping forward. "We need allies who understand this war in their bones." They turned to Godzilla. The Titan let loose a low growl, as if in recognition. Then, he dove, down into the trench, into the breach itself. Chapter 7. Rift Kings. The final battle was not on land, or sky, but in the hollow heart of Earth. Jaegers followed Godzilla into the breach, Titan Stride, Chimera Fist, and Argus Valiant descending through liquid fire and electric storms. The Rift Realm was a world of floating islands, shattered gravity, and beasts beyond imagination. Godzilla led the charge, his spines flaring like a war banner. The Hive King met him with a scream that cracked reality. Titan Stride clashed with aerial Kaiju, Cass and Juno moving in perfect synchrony. Argus Valiant detonated its core to seal one rift mouth. Chimera Fist battled through a swarm of insectoid monstrosities. Then, silence. Godzilla and the Hive King, locked in brutal single combat. One was instinct. The other, intelligence. Both were titans. Juno, her Jaeger nearly torn in half, saw the moment. Godzilla weakened, pinned. Cass, divert all power to the reactor. She shouted, "We'll overload. We do it now." Titan Stride surged forward, its chest cavity opening. For one blinding second, it became a conduit for all the energy Godzilla could not muster. The blast engulfed the Hive King. Epilogue. Silence beyond the rift. The breach sealed. The ocean calmed. Godzilla surfaced alone. Titan Stride's remains were recovered months later. Cass's body was never found. Juno lived, but never piloted again. Monarch and the PPDC formed the United Earth Defense Accord. A statue was raised in Tokyo, a Jaeger and Godzilla standing back to back, and deep beneath the waves, in the still dark places of the world, the silence held, but it was a listening silence. The Rim of Kings had passed, and the world would never forget.